Hi, 7th grade. We are on lesson 4, session 2. It's on page 65. Developing interpreting graphs of a proportional relationship. Okay, so what I really wanted you guys to get out of the lesson last time was that we have slope, which is the same thing as your proportional relationship. And then I also wanted you to understand, how do you find slope? Slope is rise over the run. Okay, so you would start at a point and you see how much do you go up to go over, and then go up and then go over, okay? All right, let's go and read this. Ignacio is making chilies in Chile. I can't speak Spanish. To celebrate Mexican Independence Day with his family. Ignacio needs to buy poblano peppers. The local market sells poblano peppers by the pound, like a tongue twister. How much will 1 pound of peppers cost? And how much will 3.5 pounds of peppers cost? Okay, so we just get this graph. I'm going to go ahead and find the points, or the coordinates, I mean, for each of these. So for example, I'm going to do this in a different color so we can see. It looks like the first one is over 1 up I was about to say up a half, but look at the scale. The scale for the y is going up by 3s. So that would mean this is 1.5, right? Because what's half of 3? 1.5. Okay, so the first dot has a coordinate of over 1 up 1.5. The next dot has a coordinate that's over 1.5, and then up what's between 3 and 6. This would be 3, so it would be 3 plus 1.5, which is 4.5. 4.5 is right there, so over 1.5, up 4.5. Oops, not a comma. Okay, and then this dot looks like it's over 2.5. Oh, you know what? I messed up on the very first one. You know why? That's not over 1. That's over half. And then this would be over 1. Okay, so I'm not going to erase too much. Don't worry. I just have to go over here and fix this. It's not over 1. It's over half. Over half, and then up 1.5. Okay? Ooh, this is tricky business. Okay, so it's over 2.5, up 3, 6, and 6 plus 1.5, which is 7.5. Right there. I think. Yeah, it must be. Okay. So 2.5. And then over, what did I say, 7.5? Or up 7.5? Woo, this is a lot. Okay. Now look at this one dot. Do you see how these look like they're spread out nice and evenly? Like the rise over the run would be the same for each of these. Now look at that. The stairs all of a sudden change shape. That doesn't mean that this is not a proportional relationship. What that means is they're giving us a new dot where the rest should be. So like, I would say the rise over run is, so if this is up 1.5, then this would be up, what's up 1.5 plus another half? So that'd be 3. Up 3, because it's 1.5, 1.5, over, so this is half, half, which is 1. So I would say the slope is 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. And I know it doesn't look like, oh, up 3 over 1, but if you look, we have to go by our scales, right? So this is up a half, 1.5, up 1.5, which is 3. Over half, which is 1. So let's make sure that everything is that same scale. Do I go up 1.5, up 1.5, which is 3, and then go over half, half, which is 1? Yes. So technically my next dot should be up, half, over right here. Right? And if I didn't have that blue dot that was messing it up, it would fit perfectly in my line. But the question says, how much will they need for 3.5 peppers? Okay, 3.5 pounds of pepper. This 3 is showing you that 3 pounds of peppers is $9. I don't care about 3. I want 3.5. Did I find where 3.5 landed? Yeah, right there. And how did I find that? With rise over run. Okay, so if it's 3.5 pounds, that would be, let's see, this would be 9, 10.5 right there in the middle. What that means is my next point would be 3.5 comma 10.5. And I know that if I buy 3.5 pounds of peppers, that means the cost is going to be $10.50. Okay, so let's talk about how we found that. First, what we did is we found the slope, okay? All I did was ask myself, how many do I have to do to get from this dot to this dot? How many jumps and slides? I have to rise up 1.5 plus 1.5, which is 3. And then I had to go over half, which is 1, okay? This is not a very easy scale to start us off by, because you shouldn't have to use like halves and things like this when you're learning rise over run. But hey, they're just throwing us into the snake pit early, I guess. Once we did that, then I can find out how many dots go anywhere, right? As soon as I know the slope is 3 over 1, I can find out how many dots, I can find out where any of the dots will land, okay? Now, let's think about this mathematically, though. If I didn't know that that dot had to land there, could I use my slope and a unit rate to find out that it would be 10.5 for 3.5 pounds of peppers? Yeah, and how could I have done that? Well, that's what we're going to go solve, okay? So go ahead and have all of this stuff written down, but now we're going to go to the next page. So for the model it, they're going to show us the equation, okay? They're showing us that for 3 pounds of peppers, it's $9, okay? So for 3 pounds, so it's going to be $9 per 3 pounds. Per means divide. What is 9 divided by 3? 3. Didn't we get a slope of 3? Isn't slope 3 over 1 the same as just 3? Yeah. So what you can do is you can take your y's and divide them by your x's and find your slope, right? Could I have done that with any of these dots? Yes. They're just telling us to do this dot because it happens to land nicely on a crosshair of 3, 9. Okay. That's great and all. That got us our slope, right? Which means the equation is y equals 3x. Okay? That's our slope. Now, what does y equal 3x mean? What that means is I can enter in any y coordinate or any x coordinate and solve for the other. For example, let's say I want to buy 4 pounds of peppers. How much will that cost? Well, I could do my rise over run, but the chances are it's not going to land nicely on the 4, right? I mean, it might get skipped. So what can I do? 4 is the x coordinate. It's on the x, and y is what we don't know. I can enter 4 into this equation. Y equals 3 times x, which is going to be the 4. 3 times 4 is 12. What that means is I just now found my cost. For 4 pounds, it will cost $12. Okay? So this equation, y equals mx plus b, you don't need to so much worry about the b for now, so much as this is the most important part. M is the slope. Okay? We might have a pop quiz on that. I might say, write the equation for slope-intercept form. The equation for slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. We'll talk more about that in class though, okay? Now, the model is showing what we did. They said that you could draw a line through the points and go find the slope, which we did, right? Look at the equations in the first model it. How can you find the cost of 1 pound of pepper or 3.5 pounds of pepper? So remember, the equation was y equals 3x. If I wanted to find out 1 pound of pepper, The pounds are my x's. So I'm going to put 1 in for x. 1 times 3 equals 3. So 1 pound, 1 lb, is the same as $3. What about 3.5? I could just now go and insert, let me get a different color. What if I put 3.5 in for x? What's 3 times 3.5? Well, we already did this, right? 3 times 3.5, isn't that what the question was wanting in the first place? 3.5 pounds is $10.5. $10.50. So that means 3.5 pounds of peppers is the same as $10.50. So these equations are super important because you can enter in any number of pounds of peppers you want and you'll still get the price. Now look at the graph. What does 1 pound and 3.5 pounds of peppers cost? How can you tell? You could tell by looking at, here, let's look at this one. You could tell by looking at the y coordinate. The x coordinate is how many pounds. The y coordinate was how much it cost. X and y. So x is 1 pound, cost is $3, okay? So the question says, how could you tell? You can look at the y coordinate. Okay, so for example, 1, 3, 1 is pounds, 3 is cost. What does the point 0, represent in this situation? Why is the point 0, part of the graph of any proportional relationship? You have to start at 0, guys. 0, is saying 0 pounds of peppers is the same as $0. It's just common sense. You've got to have a 0 in there, okay? Okay, what does the point 1, 3.5 tell you? Well, the point 1, 3.5 tells us 1 pound of peppers would equal $3.5, right? Okay, hold on. I have to get my book back open. It accidentally shut because my dog is so special. Okay, so 1 tells us 1 pound. Will be $3.50. The x's tell you the pounds, the y's tell you the cost in this situation. Which point gives the unit rate or the constant of proportionality in any graph of a proportional relationship? Explain. Okay, basically I would pick any point on my line as long as it was an x, y. Can't I take any of these points that we found? 0.5, 1.5, 1.5, 4.5, 2.5, 7.5. Can't I take any of those and divide the y over the x, the y over the x, the y over the x, and the y over the x? And if I do that, guess what they're all going to equal? That's right, 3. My constant of proportionality is my slope. So I can take any point and divide the y over the x and get the slope, okay? So the question says, how can you use the graph to find any proportional relationship? I can take, we're up here. I can take the y's divided by the x's, and that will equal slope. Which means, what does slope mean? Constant of proportionality. Okay, that's what I want you guys to get out of that part. Let me erase my little I. Boop. Okay, number 6. How could you use the graph of a proportional relationship to find any ratio of the proportional relationship, and why does this work? Because exact same thing that we just said on this one. Y divided by x is slope. Slope is constant of proportionality. Okay, which means I can take any dot that lands on that line and divide the y and the x and get the constant of proportionality. Okay, number 7. Think about all the models and strategies we've discussed today. How has one of them helped you better understand how to solve the triad problem? So, for example, did you like looking at the graph, or do you like using your slope-intercept form? Now, let me tell you what I think. I love looking at graphs. I think graphs are super helpful. I love looking at the slope, the rise over the run. However, I also know that we do need this equation to help us solve any point, okay? So if I was going to answer this one over here, I would say both. I would say the graph helps me visualize the rate. However, the equation is super important because now I can find any rate that will land on that line. I want you guys to pause the video, answer this one for yourself. It's okay if you copy my answer that I just said out loud. If you need to rewind the video and write that down, you can. But I'm going to go on to number 8. Okay, number 8 says, Alejandro babysits in the evenings. He makes a graph to show the money he will earn. How much money does Alejandro earn for each hour of babysitting, and how do you know? Guys, we just got to go and find the constant of proportionality. The constant of proportionality is the slope. Okay, what I like to do is I like to find where the line crosses perfectly in the crosshairs. Remember, crosshairs are like, if this was a target, the crosshair is like perfectly in the middle. Okay, so it crosses perfectly right here at 0, 0. And then it crosses again perfectly right here. And then again perfectly right here. And then eventually it will cross perfectly right there. Okay, now, can I find the slope? Easy. How much do I go up? 15. How much do I go over? 1. That's the slope. Up 15 over 1, up 15 over 1, up 15 over 1, up 15 over 1. Now what does that mean the equation is? The equation is y equals 15x. In other words, I could put in any amount of hours into my equation and go find how much money he'd make, okay? Okay, so how much does he make for 1 hour? $15, because that's our slope, okay? Okay, number 9. Indra makes a graph to show how many pages of her graphic novel she can illustrate each day. What is the constant of proportionality, or slope, for the relationship between pages and days? Easy. Let's go find the slope. Remember, I want to use the crosshairs, okay? Dot, 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 dot. Okay, so the crosshairs are super easy this time. Now let's go find the slope. This is 1.5, which means this would be, let me see, what is half of 1.5? 1.5, half of 1.5 would be 0.78. Why am I blanking this? Oh, duh, it's 7.5. Okay, so half of 1.5 is 0.75. So this is up 3/4. So each of these are 3/4, right? So this would be 1.5 plus another, this is 1.5 plus another 75. So this would be 225. Okay, I don't really need to know that too much. All I need to know is I go up 0.75 over 1. I can tell these are just going by, going by ones. Okay, so the slope is 0.75 over 1. That means I go up 0.75 over 1, up 0.75 over 1, up 0.75 over 1. What that means is, in 1 day, she can illustrate 0.75 of a page, which is 3/4 of a page. Okay? What is the constant proportionality? It's just the slope, guys. 0.75 over 1. 0.75 page, 3/4 of a page over 1 day. What kind of equation could I now make? Well, it's easy. Y equals mx. And then there's the plus b, but we don't have to worry about the plus b for right now. M is slope. So just rewrite this with slope. y equals 0.75 times x. Ta-da! Elma's, oh, that's a weird name. Elma's sister, little sister, wants box braids. They complain that Elma braids too slow, so she makes a graph to show them how fast she really is. Okay, so here's how to make a box braid if you are like totally interested in that. Let's go over here and see. So let's find our crosshairs. It looks like we got something that lands in the crosshairs at each point, which is great. So now let's go find the slope. Okay, we can tell that for one head of hair, she can do it in 3.5 hours. So to do one person's head, it takes her 3.5. I could say that's my slope, right? Can't I say go up 3.5 over 1, up 3.5 over 1? Now I know it looks like I'm going over 2, but you guys have to look at the scale. It's going up by halves, okay? So I could say that's my slope. I could say 3.5 over 1, okay? Which means, can I now make an equation y equals 3.5x? Hypothetically, let's just say that she has like 6 little sisters. Big family. 6 little sisters I'd plug in for x. So then I'd have 3.5 times 6. Okay? Let's see. 3.5 and then times 6 would equal 21. Holy smokes. So for her to do 6 of her sisters, it would take her 21 hours. Woo! So what does the 0.00 mean? 0 heads of hair, or sisters, will take 0 hours. Guys, that's just like common sense, right? If I'm not braiding anybody's hair, it's not going to take me any time. What does the 1.5 comma 5.25 mean? Okay, so remember, this is your x. That's your y. X says heads of hair. So if I do 1.5 heads of hair, it will take me 5.25 hours. Okay? I know that's kind of a harder concept, but we'll definitely work on this in class a bunch, okay? Now, last lesson, I gave you kind of like a little, like, here in this corner, this is like the big idea that I want you to get out of this lesson type of thing. I got another one of those for you today. Okay, let me make it very clear. Here's the big idea for this lesson. Slope is important because it is the constant of proportionality. But once you have the slope, which is the same thing as your y's over your x's, once you have slope, you need to go put that into an equation called slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. The big idea is that we need to put slope in for m, okay? We aren't really focusing on b so much lately. Don't worry about that right now. But this is what you need to focus on, okay? The big idea for this week, for this day, for this lesson is y equals mx. M is the slope. Okay, that's my big idea. Boop, 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 boop. Go ahead and scan page 68, upload it. We are going to do 69 and 70 in class together. All right, bye guys.